Welcome back. With an insightful learning of the theoretical framework of Erickson psychosocial development, it is essential to relate the implications of the theory to the process of counseling. This video will help you to understand the same. At the end of this third video, you will be able to comprehend the sequence of crisis during the psychosocial stages of development, realize the counseling implications of psychosocial theory, and gain insight into the role of counselors based on the psychosocial theory. Erickson never exactly demarcated the age of the stages, but the age span given was based on Freud's psychosexual stages as to exactly point out when the crisis would reach the stage of ascendancy. Time frames for each stage differs from culture to culture and family to family. Based on the psychological readiness of the individual, the environment provides timely challenge, creating a conflict which will need to be resolved. Such conflict need not necessarily be negative, but positive in the sense resolution may lead to growth. In this conflict resolution process, the strength and vulnerability of both the individual and the environment come into play. When a successful resolution results, it is considered by Erickson as a favorable ratio and not as an achievement of either of the conflicting issue. An individual who is used to experience conflict during a particular stage may experience it again in later stages, which develops the need to reanalyze the beliefs developed at the former stage. Ego strength is a result of conflict resolution, which is a primary goal of psychotherapy. Each crisis helps in building virtue or essential strength. Hence, this section will bring out the strategies of counseling in developing the virtue of every stage of psychosocial development. First virtue is on the developing hope. The infantile experiences may equally lead to the development of trust or mistrust among children. Based on these early experiences, a child may have a strong or shaky foundation for creating relationships in school. The student's ratio of trust and mistrust influences the quality of relationship with teachers, coaches, and even peers. Activities designed to learn to analyze the trustworthiness of a person in their environment will help the student to balance the trust or the mistrust that he or she has for that person. Such a design must include strategies for gaining support from others in a created, safe environment. The second strength is developing willpower. Among the children arriving in school, some would have been having the virtue of will. At the same time, some would have self-doubt on their ability. Such children will need to acquire the virtue of will. They can be exposed to role modeling, made to try new tasks, guided in making meaningful choices, and taught to recognize the efforts made by self. On the other hand, some children would have been granted too much autonomy. Such children would oppose to disciplinary measures even when it may have adverse effects on their interests, and as a result will miss many opportunities including skill development. Hence, they may not be motivated to explore the talent domain. Third strength is developing purpose. To enhance an identity as a successful performer, school children must be exposed to role models of that particular potential and interest-related area. As for the theory, the child should be challenged and allowed to experiment with their understanding of cultural values. Students should be engaged in choosing from options, making action plans, participating in their planned actions along with friends, and be given free hand to try all of these. The fourth virtue was developing competence. For the children to meet the crisis of this stage, plenty of opportunities to take part in practical adult life should be provided. Regular feedback is essential for them to understand the progress of their learning, and their activity should be related to the original adult activity. Any child who is at the level of understanding and engaging a grown-up's work must be exposed to such opportunities. Ego strength comes from real accomplishment. Erickson claims children cannot be fooled by empty praises and condescending encouragement. This acquiring ego identity gains real strength only from wholehearted and consistent recognition of real accomplishment That is, an achievement that has meaning in their culture. Erickson also spoke about favorable ratio. This can be achieved by allowing the students to try new and risky challenges and cope with resulting failures. Then the fifth strength is developing fidelity. From grades 6 to 12, students will be exploring and understanding who they are. This age span is highly challenging for the students as they are characterized by greater physiological changes and psychological turmoil. And it requires sensitivity from adults too. During this stage, more importance is given to others' opinion about self, which has a direct link to the formation of self-perception. Identity explorations are essential and can be fostered through discussions and encouraging experiments in the domains of interest. Then comes the virtue of developing love. Though Erickson's theory speaks about the predetermined order of the stages, at times the students may develop an interest for a domain relating to the next stage. The students' efforts may be directed towards achieving that interest with earnest dedication. This reveals the early onset of the crisis of virtue of love stage. Yet, the students will not be able to handle the crisis like an adult. To foster crisis resolution, the students can be provided opportunities with activities like awareness programs, training programs, mentoring programs, and field trips. Now, let us see about the role of school counselors based on the said psychosocial framework. The focus for any school counselor should be on attending to the essential strengths. Based on the detailed description of the series of crises that happens as child grow, as per Erickson, the main implication for the psychotherapy is that the ego strength should be improved through the entire lifespan. The interactive process between the person and the community, though it is continuous, it influences the thinking lifelong. So, effective building of ego strength does not depend solely on the crisis in the particular stage. Even though identity crisis does not occur till adolescence, it should be considered important and due attention given from the early ages for the development of identity. For example, the virtue of hope and will would have been introduced even before a child reaches preschool. The ratio of virtue may differ from child to child based on their experiences with the environment. Some school-age children will be more trusting compared to others. Likewise, few of them will have developed a strong sense of autonomy than others, while some may be doubtful of self to the point of helplessness. Such conflicts cause psychological difficulties in adulthood and may raise the need for psychological help. School counselors have to design interventions that develop the ego strength of the students of all age groups, keeping in mind the adult and their students grow up into also the other stages that they have to go through. As per psychosocial theory, the main focus at every stage of the therapy should be on the development of identity. Also, confidentiality is crucial in the therapy process and at all therapy stages as it is related to the virtue of trust and hope. Theory of Erickson psychosocial development that was explained to you in the form of 3 videos has contributed to sensitizing you people on the different crises related to identity, autonomy, intimacy that each student experiences at each stage of development, and the way he or she manage these stages and how the experiences can affect the entire life cycle is dealt with. Hence, the theory of Erickson psychosocial development is a consistent and powerful framework in helping the students to self-actualize. Moreover, the theory provides the therapist with adequate information for identifying the cause of difficulties in a student and design appropriate intervention to enhance talents and mental health for the concerned student. Thank you once again.